Welcome back to the channel today for another video. Of course, as always, we're talking about Wrexham Football Club, and yes, you have read the title right, and no, it is not clickbait. This is a scenario that could actually happen in the near future regarding Wrexham. We could see Wrexham compete in a major European competition. Before we get going in today's video, it's been an awful start to the day. I've went to get a haircut early in the morning thinking, oh, it's going to be nice and quiet. Turns out the hairdresser was shut. The weather outside is just ridiculous, hence why I've got my hoodie on. It's gloomy, dark, cold, you name it. Any word to describe awful weather is happening right now in North Wales. So let's hope we can get a good video out of this one today, and let's see if we can hit 350 likes on today's video. If you're new as well, make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. We're on the road to 26,000 subscribers, and of course it'll be on screen here. Thank you to everyone who has supported the channel further. It is the first link in the description down below if you are interested in supporting the channel further. Of course, it goes a long way, and let's get talking about this really interesting topic. So like I said, you've read the title right. No, it's not clickbait at all. Now the statement is as followed that came out from BBC Sport yesterday morning at 9 o'clock. Welsh EFL clubs are in talks about a transformational change which would see them enter a Welsh Cup competition in order to qualify for European football. Yes, that headline has really been put out by BBC Sport. Cardiff City, Swansea City, Newport County and of course Wrexham Football Club have all held discussions about entering a Welsh League Cup for a chance to represent Wales in the UEFA Conference League. Yes, the Europa Conference League, the newly founded competition in 2021. You might remember West Ham winning it, Jared Bowen in the last minute. You know, last year you had Olympiacos winning it of Greece. So it is a big competition. There's lots of big clubs in there. And now we're going to be talking about how would it actually happen? How could Wrexham possibly qualify for this European competition? Now, Wrexham would compete alongside the three other Welsh clubs, Cardiff, Swansea and Newport, in the Nathaniel M.G. Cup, which is a competition where 46 teams participate in two different tiers in Welsh football, with the winners receiving a qualifying spot in the stages of the Europa Conference League. I'm not too sure what stage it is yet, but I don't think it's like a late stage. I think you've got to win maybe 1 or 2 games to get to the Conference League. But as we've seen, there's some beatable teams in there from this year, and it's definitely not a write-off that Wrexham or any of these teams in here could qualify for the Conference League group stage. Now we're going to be talking about why is this happening? Why all of a sudden, after all these years of, you know, Wrexham, Newport, Cardiff, Swansea being not in the Welsh Cup? Of course, this isn't the actual Welsh Cup, this is the Welsh League Cup. Of course, we've seen Wrexham participate in the Welsh Cup many years ago. We know we had that win over Porto, so it can create some really big games and some great ties for the club. Now, Welsh Project for Wales would reportedly drive improvement for the whole Welsh football ecosystem and financial gains which will help grassroots, domestic Welsh clubs and the women's game. Of course, bringing these teams in would massively boost, in my opinion, the Welsh League, the Cymru Premier, because I think it's fair to say the Welsh Leagues at the minute has been obviously dominated by the New Saints for the past couple of seasons, and it's not really had that competitive edge that it might used to have 10-15 years ago. We've seen a one-sided league with, you know, we've had the good runs in Europe here and there, but of course TNS were the first team to obviously qualify for a group stage ever in the history of Welsh football. So definitely adding the Cardiff, the Swansea, the Wrexham, the Newport would definitely increase the chance of a Welsh team being in a major competition. Now, they also projected that the idea could improve Wales' standing in the UEFA rankings. Now, we currently sit 50th, which is 5th from bottom, and they've projected if Wrexham, Swansea, Cardiff and Newport are all to participate and possibly qualify for the Conference League or do far in the qualifying rounds, it could take Wales to 40th place or higher, of course gaining more eyeballs on Welsh football and growing Welsh football on the whole, and more specifically that Welsh Premier League. We've seen, of course, the Welsh Premier League is now extending to 16 teams, so it's going to add more competition, and it seems like they're really going to put a lot of effort into growing Welsh football and more funding, of course increasing the global attention on Welsh football, of course, with the possible teams coming into the European Conference League. And going back to the rankings now, one of the main reasons why Wales is ranked so low for this ranking list is due to the poor performances in Europe. Of course, like I've just stated, the New Saints, TNS, are the first team in Welsh football to ever qualify for a main European competition in the group stage. So I definitely do think there could be a big chance that, you know, Wales could be represented more in Europe with these 4 teams coming in, especially, you know, I'm not being biased, Cardiff and Swansea coming in, they're 2 championship teams. They've definitely got a really good chance of qualifying, you know, going the later stages and possibly even getting to the group stage. And Wrexham as well, we've got a high-end quality League One team. There's some beatable teams in there, and on our day, you know, not only will it it give us the opportunity to get our name on the global stage in a main European competition, we're also creating memories that, of course, people had in the past. Anderlecht, Porto, you know, we've had all these many European memories for the older generation. To bring that now to Wrexham with the current success we're having in the EFL would just be magical. Yeah, like I said, you know, adding these 4 teams, the EFL clubs, into the Welsh League Cup for possibly increasing our stance in European football would definitely be a big boost. Now, we're going to be talking about the pros for Wrexham. Why could this be a good idea for Wrexham Football Club to go and participate in the Welsh League Cup to possibly get that European football back to the racecourse ground? Now, of course, the first point being there's the chance to compete in Europe. State the obvious, but, you know, you'll have eyeballs drawn onto Wrexham, even more than we already do. Of course, the growth we've had with the documentary. Imagine Wrexham going toe-to-toe, welcome to Wrexham, you know, the current league success we've had over the past couple of seasons, merging in together with European football. Wrexham on the main stage in Europe would just genuinely be ridiculous. And of course, that's a big if Wrexham were to qualify for the European Conference League group stages, which of course is a big task. We've seen, you know, the best teams from certain countries struggle to qualify for the group stage, but I genuinely think there is a chance that Wrexham, you know, could possibly make that upset into the group stage, and it's definitely not impossible. But qualifying for Europe, of course, through the English League competitions at the minute does seem very slim. You know, we're way off at the minute winning the Carabao Cup, winning the FA Cup, or finishing in the top 7 in the Premier League. So, you know, that is a long way off, and going over to this Welsh League Cup could possibly bring us that European football quicker than what we'd currently see at the minute going through the English route. There's definitely that chance, if this is to happen, that Wrexham could have European football in the next 1 to 2 seasons compared to the Premier League, which might not happen. You know, we might not see European football if we went down that English route for probably 10 to 15 years. And the next point is extra revenue. Of course, it's a no-brainer. If Wrexham were to qualify for the group stage of the UEFA Conference League, we would bank £2.5 million. So think TNS of the Welsh leagues, they have banked 2.5 million for qualifying for the group stage, and every point they pick up, I think it's like 155,000, and every win is 500,000. So that's a big bonus for Welsh football, and of course putting Wales on the map with TNS being in that Conference League group stage. They face Fiorentina, who David De Gea plays for next week, so that's definitely done Welsh football a bit of good. We've seen on Twitter, social media, it's gained a lot of eyeballs. I think it was on the Newcastle Man City, they were promoting, you know, TNS and their rise to the Conference League group stage and being the first Welsh team. So, you know, that's going to be a big part of them succeeding in the future, getting that 2.5 million. Of course, as a Wrexham fan point of view, and for a standpoint from Wrexham financially, 2.5 million just for qualifying is a massive amount of money. And, you know, if we are to get promoted miraculously to the Championship this season, 2.5 million might not seem an awful lot, but if we are to stay in League One, 2.5 million is definitely a lot. And you think we've spent 1 and a bit million on players this season, you think if that 2.5 million is gone straight towards, you know, players, funding behind the scenes, possibly towards a training ground, it does go a long way. And even if we're looking at the qualifying rounds there, if Wrexham were to get knocked out in the qualifying rounds, I've estimated we'd still earn around £600,000 plus TV money and plus possible new sponsorships. Of course, if Wrexham are to get in those qualifying rounds, the games will be on TNT Sports, formerly known as BT Sports, so we'll bank a bit of money from that. And I definitely think, of course, there's been a lot of thought gone into this possible proposal, and it needs to be worthwhile for Wrexham. Of course, we've seen the success we've had over the past couple of seasons. There's probably a lot of people thinking, do we really need this? But if you're looking at putting Wrexham on the map even more and bringing in new sponsorships, TV money, and just overall extra revenue into the club, it does seem like a no-brainer to do this. And the final point, of course, it benefits Welsh football on the whole. Now, it increases the chance of Wales, of course, being represented on the global stage in a European competition, something that's only done once before. And, you know, there's the chance that, you know, Swansea, Cardiff, Wrexham or Newport go into that campaign with the likes of TNS, who have shown they can qualify before. So we could have 2 Welsh teams on the global stage in European competition, which of course would just see Welsh football continue to grow. As I've already stated, there's 16 teams now in the Welsh Premiership, so they seem to be really going for this to grow the game in Wales. And if we're looking at the cons now, the cons for Wrexham possibly, you know, competing in the European competition, I think the main one is fixture congestion. Now, it'd be an extra 6 games if we were qualifying for the group stage in the Conference League. Of course, I think we have 4 qualifying games before that. We'll have a 2-legger and a 2-legger. So, you know, that's 10 games extra in this season, which of course is far from guaranteed that this is even going to happen. I think there's definitely a good chance this does happen, but if we're looking at getting in the group stage, it's of course not a nailed on guarantee. There's probably like a 35-40%, and you'll see why at the end of the video why there is such a slightly slim chance of Wrexham getting to the group stage. But you think of these qualifying games, the group stage games, on top of the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and the extra 46 league games that we do play in a season, just a small amount of 46, which if we're working out, it would be a minimum, the bare minimum games we play in a season is 55. Now realistically, if we're looking at it now, and if we're looking at progressing in every single competition mathematically and realistically, we'd probably be playing 63 games a season. Now it's easy to say as a fan and sit here, you know, watching the players play football week in, week out, but I would love Wrexham to play in a European competition. I'd love to follow Wrexham abroad, see us, you know, even if you got knocked out in the first qualifying round, seeing Wrexham Football Club play in a major European competition, following the club, you know, wherever it be, whether it be Hungary, Greece, Spain, Italy, just the feeling of seeing Wrexham play, of course, like I said, in a domestic European competition is something that I cannot comprehend at the minute. Of course, there'd be a lot of benefits for the club, but if we're being realistic and if we're keeping our feet on the ground, our priority should always be trying to climb up the leagues. Our priority should never lie in a European competition. Of course, that would bring major success if we were to do unthinkable things in the European competition, but we want to be getting to that Premier League. I know it sounds stupid, I know it sounds unrealistic possibly at now, but we would like to see us possibly go all out next season to win that League One title, or just to get promoted to the Championship. And if the Europa Conference League is going to interfere in that, is it possibly worth it, and could it possibly halt our progression up and up the leagues? That's something you've got to weigh out. Of course, there's a lot of pros and there is a couple of cons on this, and of course, if that fixture congestion is going to lead to fatigue, etc., and a squad that could possibly face injuries in these games and possibly, like I said, halt our progression as we look to go up to the Championship, then is it really worth it? Now, the next one is definitely an interesting one, and this is probably one that if you're looking at this video as a neutral fan point of view, you're probably thinking, who does he think he is? What's he talking about? There's a big risk if we do take up this opportunity to qualify for European football through the Welsh League Cup, through the Welsh system, then it means Wrexham would never be able to qualify for a European competition through the English route. So say if Wrexham won the FA Cup, we get Europa League, or say if Wrexham somehow finished top 4 in the Premier League, we'd obviously secure the Champions League spot. We would not be able to, because like I said, once we accept this offer of, you know, qualifying for the Welsh League Cup and possibly getting European Conference League football, that means we cannot qualify for European football through the English route. So we've only got that one route via, of course, the Nathaniel MG Cup to qualify and get that European football under our belt. So this scenario, like I said, is a way off. It's years away. It's years and years away. It's something we might not even ever see happen at Wrexham, but it's something to bear in mind. You know, there is still time for things to change. They might change at Wrexham. They might not even accept this proposal, but that's something to bear in mind. Imagine that Wrexham, you know, finished 4th in the Premier League. We've got Champions League football, but we can't qualify because all those years ago, we've decided to play in the Welsh League Cup just to get that Conference League football and play against, you know, some second tier Welsh teams. I think it's of course something they'll have had in their minds about this possible project, but yeah, something very interesting to know. You might have previously seen me say as well, it's not as easy as, you know, we've seen TNS qualify for the Conference League. It would be very difficult for Wrexham to even make it into that group stage, and like I said, it might seem possible as we saw TNS become the first Welsh team to qualify, but TNS did actually go through the Champions path to qualify. Wrexham would not go through this. TNS, of course, originally were in the Champions League qualifying round. I think they won one game, had that second game, and then they got knocked out, and they were like 2 games away from qualifying for the Conference League, so they only had to play that 2-legger game to get into the group stage. And with doing this, they avoided all of the big teams, you know, the Chelseas, the Fiorentinas, etc. But if we're looking at Wrexham, we would have to face these teams. There's a high possibility if we were in the Conference League this season, we would have played the likes of Chelsea, Fiorentina, Real Betis, Panathinaikos and RC Lens in France. So like I said, it's part and parcel of doing this, and of course it'd be incredible to see Wrexham play in the competition. And you know, imagine that Wrexham Chelsea in a European competition game. How are we even talking about this? It's just ridiculous, and you probably compete in these competitions more for the memories made for the fans, and the fans would probably, you know, just like to see us be in this competition. They probably wouldn't care if we got to the group stage. If we got these European away days, got to see Wrexham be represented in Europe on the biggest stage, then it would just be a moment come true through for all the younger generation of Wrexham fans. Of course, overall, my point on this topic is it would just be harder to qualify than looking at TNS. You might see them and think, surely if TNS can qualify, Wrexham are like miles and miles ahead of TNS, then we could surely qualify with, ease. But if you're looking at it realistically, we would have to go through that path of possibly playing all these big teams, and of course nothing is guaranteed, and every single team in that would give us a real tough test. So yeah, there's definitely going to be some mixed opinions on this topic, and there has been. I've seen on social media, especially on Twitter, I think Fearless and Devotion put out a thing where they said, would you be happy to see Wrexham compete in European football? There's not like a one-sided part to this argument. There's a lot of mixed opinions. It'd be brilliant to see Wrexham be represented on the European stage, but I don't think it's as fair on, the domestic Welsh clubs who are pushing to qualify. And it's as hard as it is, to get into that European spot and see one taken away and one added for a team that doesn't play in the Welsh Premier League. I think it's definitely going to be something they're angry and upset about, so I can understand the frustration from this point of view. But I think the FAW will value the European presence, more for Wales as a country, now that there's an incredibly increased amount of chance that you'll see an extra team from Wales be represented on that European domestic global stage. And like I said, personally, for me, I would not turn down the opportunity to get an away day in Greece or Italy, so I'm all for this. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I was not expecting to make this video. If you'd have said to me this time last week I'd be talking about Wrexham possibly competing in a European competition, I don't know what I'd have said, but it's a long way off, nothing's guaranteed yet, but it's something to be excited about, something I can definitely get behind, and something, if we were to get that European away day in Europe and even go that one step further and be in that group stage of the UEFA Conference League, it would just be ridiculous. European nights under the lights at the racecourse ground would just be fantastic. So like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Make sure to subscribe, like, do all that good stuff. If you'd like to support the channel further, it'll be the first link in the description below. Until then, take care guys, up the town.